40. I move to approve the contract for Butterfly Dreams.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the Love Your Block agreement between the City of Gary and Butterfly Dreams, Inc. at 4215 West 25th Avenue in Gary. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion on this matter?
Yes, Butterfly Dreams is working in partnership with Elsie's. They're going to beautify Elsie's Park. What's wonderful about this is at our last meeting with the grantee orientation, they were able to meet Elsie's son, and he's actually going to be a part of the beautification of that park. It's actually going to be changed. Not only is it Butterfly Dreams, but it's going to become Butterfly Block. They have a home across the street from Elsie's Park, and they have beautiful butterflies on it, and that's where young women can go and develop and learn different things about themselves. They even publish their journals with their permission, of course. So we have published young authors in the city of Gary through Butterfly Dreams, and they're going to beautify that park and add a reading library and recycle old tires and make them into chairs for people to be able to sit down and read. I'm really excited about Butterfly Dreams.
So the monies that will be paid to get this started, what will sustain this effort? It seems like the
Oh, sustainability, that's my favorite word. It is through partnership with the community. The people in the community have bought into the idea of them taking ownership of this park. When we went and did a site visit, there were people there who were actually enjoying the park, and once they found out what they were doing, they wanted to be a part of it. Sustainability comes from the people.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, may we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas?
Yes.
President Suggs?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Butterfly Dreams, Inc., 4215 West 25th Avenue in Gary has been approved.
Mr. President, the next correspondence we have is from C3 Home IN and C Corp, located at 1429 Pennsylvania Street in Gary, Indiana. This is also, again, a Love Your Block grant. The block grant is not to exceed $2,000 with an initial payment of $2,000. Again, we'll have a detailed explanation of their scope of work and responsibilities. But the location for this particular project is 112 West 25th Avenue. At this time, I move to approve the contract for C3 Home IN, a C Corp.
Second.
A motion on the floor, and it has been properly second to approve the Love Your Block agreement between the City of Gary and C3 Home Inc. at 1429 Pennsylvania Street in Gary, Indiana. Any discussion on this motion? May we have clarification or?
Sure. Okay, well, this is actually in partnership with Candace Anderson, and her organization works to beautify different areas, and they really deal in the arts. So this is actually a braided funded effort. They are going to take a vacant lot, and they're going to hand paint sidewalk murals and decorative benches. They actually redirected their project, and I'm excited that they were willing to do that. They wanted something somewhere else. But understanding that along that 25th Avenue corridor, we had some room for improvement there. They're going to connect Booker T. Washington Park, which is across the street, to this area. So we actually have 4 projects happening at that intersection, and they're all working together to make that corner pop. I'm excited about it. I guess I'm excited about all the projects.
Booker T. Washington Park is at the corner of
25th and Washington.
25th and Washington.
And they're directly across the street. And then we have another project this way, and then we have one across the street to the east. Yes.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, may we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas? Yes. President Suggs?
Yes.
President, vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement between the City of Gary and C3 Home Inc. at 1429 Pennsylvania Street in Gary has been approved.
Mr. President, the next correspondence we have is for, am I saying this correct, Califa Bay?
Khalif Bay.
Khalif Bay, excuse me, thank you. Khalif Bay, it's one of two grants. The first one is Khalif Bay with an address of 548 Clark Road, Gary, Indiana, 46406. Again, Love Your Block grant. Gary was selected for one of 16 cities to receive the grant funding to assist with beautifying the city. This grant is not to exceed $2,000 with an initial payment of $1,000 to start the project and the last $1,000 upon completion of the project. At this time, I'll move to approve the grant one for Khalif Bay.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, and it has been properly seconded to approve the grant between the city of Gary and Khalif Bay at 548 Clark Road, Gary, Indiana.
I got it.
Discussion on the matter? Yes.
Actually, that is his home address. The location of the project is going to be 2039 Lane Street, and that's in Midtown.
You said Blaine or Lane?
Lane,
L.A.
Lane.
I'm looking for clarification on the contract agreement
Can
of the site location. Not
Yeah.
seeing it.
And there's actually two contracts in our packet with,
Yeah, so
Khalif
two,
Bay.
you're right, Council. Two is the one that we're going to do next is the 2039 Lane Street. The other one says 50th.
Oh, 50th. Oh, I see. Okay. That one is actually in Glen Park.
So can you state that address for the record of this one?
Yes. Let me get it for you. Say it again. 1410 East 50th.
And can you explain a little bit more about that project?
Yes, that project, they are going to take a vacant lot and actually turn it into a community garden so that all of the neighbors will have somewhere to commune and to, it's going to address the food desert. So they'll be able to grow vegetables and herbs, and they're going to actually learn how to garden. All of the neighbors are coming together to do that.
Is there a master gardener or someone who's instructing these folks on how to learn the skills?
Yes, actually, with all of my garden projects, I am using the Gary Food Council and other gardens in the city of Gary who have already established very nice gardens, and we're going to try to work together with them.
Part of the piece with the garden clubs across the city has been, again, consistency and maintaining those gardens. They, you know, having that great soil, you can grow a lot of things, including weeds. So
That
what was
is the truth.
the consistency plan in regards to maintaining it even after this to next season?
Okay. Once again, it is the buy-in from the community and the people, them taking ownership of this land and what they want to do with it. As far as their instruction, even with the goal here is to really bring everyone together so that we can have some type of plan, some type of, what am I looking for? Where there's a standard set. And that's also going to be in partnership with Brenda from Environmental and Mattie from the Parks Department, just trying to set some standards for what we actually want with the city of Gary and how we want our gardens to be. And with that education, I believe that we can really increase the capacity of the people who want to have gardens. I didn't know you couldn't go straight into the dirt. You absolutely cannot. That type of education, that'll come from the Gary Food Council. But then we have other gardeners who are looking to beautify their gardens, and they have a standard. So it's kind of like, let's bring everyone together and let's try to figure out, well, what is our standard? What do we want our gardens to look like? Can we go to the market with the things we're selling? That.
I certainly agree with Chief of Staff in regards to the need to ensure that the properties, the gardens are going to be started and ended in a manner in which it complements the community and the neighborhood. Unfortunately, we've seen over periods of times where the public gardens are just kind of left to go to weed, and it looks that way, like it wasn't you know,
It wasn't
intentional effort to start it well and end it well. Is there anything that we can do to ensure that it is started well and it
And
ends
it
well?
and it ends well.
Can I got a question,
Okay.
which kind of complements that question. How many of these are for community gardens, approximately, if you don't know
boy.
that?
I actually,
A third,
off the
half?
top, I would say about a third. We have several community gardens, and it is a matter of bringing those projects together. And like I said, setting a standard so that we all have an understanding. My goal in this is really to establish us as a gardening community. And in community, you have people who are willing to help you. You have education. You have different elements from different gardens. The sustainability plan had to be put into their grant in order for them to receive it.
Okay.
So they had to come up with their own sustainability plan, but then in my understanding and my what I would like to do to further support the efforts of just bringing gardens together in Gary, period, there's more support there.
Okay, so maybe as part of this process, or maybe we can have a separate meeting with the Parks Department, about what they will do for sustainability after the growing season is done. One thing, and I know a little bit, I know the Food Council knows a whole lot, there are cover crops like clover and other things that you can plant after your growing season is done that actually make the soil more fertile for next season, because it'll fix nitrogen in the soil or do other things that will, again, help things go better the next year, and are either low-mow or no-mow alternatives. So
Yes.
you plant it and it's good for the winter, and then next spring you break ground, everything is more fertile because you've done that. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe this board could get a one-pager on what the plan is moving forward.
Absolutely.
For either for all of the community gardens as a group, or if, you know, everybody has a different plan, just kind of summarize.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be real detailed, but just.
Sure, yes. What I'm loving about all of the meetings that we're having for Love Your Block, where I'm bringing all of my grantees together, is that they are free to have conversations. And they are actually partnering with each other and attending each other's events that they're having in their gardens. And they're learning from each other organically. So this is organically, and we talk about gardens, but this is actually a movement that's happening, and it's beautiful. But in that movement, I understand what you're saying about there needs to be sustainability. But I think everyone is thinking that way. How can we make this culture?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I should have did this at the very beginning. For the sake of the general public, can you talk a little bit about, I know the process was advertised and people were able to apply. Can you talk about from the beginning, the application process and the selection process in regards to these funders? Because I think that's going to be a question. We got a lot of them, and that's great. But I want to make sure that everybody understood how the process got to this point.
Absolutely. Well, we started in February. We went through the community and we had community conversations in our 3 target neighborhoods, which were Black Oak, Glen Park, and Midtown. From there, we developed the conversation about what would the neighbors like to see in their neighborhood as far as blight elimination and beautification is concerned. From there, we had Love Your Block University, which was a 2-day class at IUN where we went over what the grant requirements were. We were looking for a team, we were looking for a project, and we were looking for a location. The location had to be a Gary-owned lot. Your team had to consist of a project leader who would be the person who would correspond with myself, and they would take ownership of this project. And then that project leader had to have 3 team members who would support them. They also had to have a sustainability plan, a scope of work, and a budget. From there, we had department head. Then they put in their application. The application was opened on April 17th, but I feel as though that we guided them through the entire process to make sure that they were supported. I always say, it's my favorite thing to say, for every measure of ask, there needs to be an equal unit of support. That's where Love Your Block University came from. It was really to help them to understand how to do the grant. And that's also why we really wanted people to attend that university so that they could be well prepared. And the people who were not able to attend, I conducted one-on-one meetings with them opened it up so that they would also have that information on what we're looking for in the grant application. And then we had the department heads who were going to be involved with the process to come in and grade the applications. We had a rubric, and that rubric is open to the public. We shared that. And then based on what their applications were, we approved them.
Thank you. Any additional questions? May we,
About the produce, will produce be sold or given to local residents, or what's the plan for what these gardens produce?
That is up to the grantees. They have the discretion to say how they would like their produce to be used. If they want to give it away, or if they want to share it with the community, or if they want to go to market. This first time around, I don't see them growing full things that would actually be ready to go to market, but I'm not a master gardener. So I will let that plan come together with what they say. But what a great idea for them to start thinking, how can this be something that brings revenue to my community? So not only do I want to feed the people, but how can we sustain this? How can we pay for this? You're welcome.
any additional questions? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas? Yes. President Suggs?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement between the City of Gary and Calip Bay has been approved for the project on East 50th Place in Gary, Indiana.
Yes, Mr. President, the next correspondence we have is also for Calif Bay. This is the second Love Your Block grant, not to exceed $2,000. Calif Bay is located at 548 Clark Road in Gary, Indiana, 46406. This project is located at 2039 Lane Street in Midtown. I move to approve the second project or contract for Calif Bay.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and it has been properly second to approve the contract with Calip Bay and the City of Gary for a Love Your Block project at 2039 Lane Street in Midtown part of Gary, Indiana. Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this motion? May we have some clarity added?
Yes, this is a basketball court that city owned. He's actually just going to remove the litter, repaint the court, replace the backboards, and he would like to install picnic tables and a little solar lighting to go in that area. He also wants to add a community bulletin board for ongoing engagement.
Thank you. Any questions? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas? Yes. President Suggs?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with Calip Bay and the City of Gary has been approved.
Mr. President, next correspondence we have is for Love Your Block grant for Carl Weatherspoon Jr., located at 2437 Buchanan Street in Gary, Indiana, 46407. Love Your Block grant. This is not to exceed $2,000 with an initial payment of $1,000. The location of this grant is at
2A.
You can say it. What does it say? I don't see it.
The scope of work, the project will be implemented across multiple locations within
Oh, thank you. Go ahead. Go on. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
within the Midtown area, specifically near 23rd and Johnson Street, 23rd and Lincoln Street, 23rd and Buchanan Street, and 23rd and Pierce Street. The grantee is in charge of planning and leading a neighborhood cleanup. They use the dumpsters to help people throw away big trash items the right way. The goal is to stop illegal dumping, keep the area clean, and make the neighborhood a better place to live.
I move to approve the contract for Carl Weatherspoon Jr.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the contract between the City of Gary Love Your Block agreement and Carl Weatherspoon Jr. at various Midtown locations, 23rd and Johnson, 23rd and Lincoln, 23rd and Buchanan, and 23rd and Pierce. Any discussion on this matter?
Well, you pretty much summed it up. This is just a dumpster that they're going to put in different locations, and that way the neighbors know that they can throw their big items away. What I like about this is that they are going to recruit volunteers to assist anyone who needs help getting those big items to the dumpster. So I love that it is promoting community while cleaning up as well.
Any additional discussion?
Yes, we, just a few questions. One of the things, the council used to always do the dumpsters, and this year with the 16 weeks of summer, we encouraged them not to, because one of our biggest issue with getting those community dumpsters is that they're heavily abused, meaning that sometimes we get individuals who are supposed to be disposing of maybe C&D from cleaning out a home or anything like that, doing a remodel of a home, putting that in there, and that's not for them, it's for the community, of course. Or even once that dumpster becomes full, they then put the trash around outside, causing hazards to traffic, and it becomes taxing on our public works department because they have to go and clean all of that up. How are we going to prevent that from happening with these dumpsters?
Okay, so these dumpsters are only going to be available on specific days, and it's going to be promoted with flyers and volunteers, and it's also going to be managed by those volunteers. It's going to be monitored for safety during the events. That's what it says. So it looks like that they have a plan to address that by working together to make sure that those dumpsters are actually manned and there will be someone there for those dumpster days. So it looks like this is actually a community event surrounded by dumping.
And if I can piggyback on that, and again, this is not for the volunteers and the people in the community who are cleaning out their own garages and basements and that kind of thing, but just for those folks who have a commercial interest, who are gutting houses, cleaning out apartment buildings, doing all the things that, you know, those are good things to do, but they've got to get their own dumpster, and they've got to get permits to do work on, you know, structures, especially if you're going to be a landlord or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they should also be aware that our code enforcement has become extremely active, and if they're doing work without permits, if they're dumping in our neighborhoods, they're going to get caught, and they're going to get big fines in court. There was an arrest just Friday with someone who was illegally dumping tires and got caught by our code enforcement, because they're out there and they're making sure that when these neighborhoods get cleaned up, they stay cleaned up. Mm-hmm. So again, this is, you know, we're very happy about the folks who have stepped up to do Love Your Block, mm-hmm. but just know that the people who have been bad actors or opportunists in a bad way, the code enforcement is out there and they're going to get them. So that's all. That was my dissertation for today.
I think the people of the community have a sense of they are tired of the dumping as well. I think they are going to monitor these dumpsters, and I think they are upset with people feeling as though their backyard is somewhere that you should put your trash. This is not for them. Right. This is not for you. Mm-hmm. This is for us. I believe they're taking ownership of their blocks. They're loving their blocks.
If the volunteers do run into trouble, code enforcement Anthony Edwards is going to be more than happy to work with them to, you know, help make sure it's only the community that's taking advantage of this.
I love that. That's offering support to that neighborhood in partnership with the city. Wonderful.
And can we, before they place the dumpsters, can we check with our police department? I would like for them to strategically place those near some of our areas where we know we have cameras and license plate readers already in place.
Absolutely. What a great idea. We are greater together. We're working together. We're making it happen.
Any additional questions? May I have a roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas? President Selks?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the approval of the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Carl Weatherspoon Jr. has been approved.
All right, the next agreement for the Love Your Block grant is for Flourish Church with an address of 3935 Cleveland Street, Gary, Indiana. This grant is again for the Love Your Block grant. This is a not to exceed amount of $20,391. This grant will take place at the location of, this project is reactivate North Gleason Park by removing the brush and overgrown weeds, adding a stage for entertainment, and adding playground equipment. I move to approve the I Love Glen Park direct decorative signing. I'll move to approve the contract for Florist Church.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the contract with the City of Gary and Florist Church for the Love Your Block program.
Second.
It's been moved and has been properly second. Any discussion on this matter?
Well, in partnership with Florist Church, this is a big project. Pastor Dexter has brought different members from other churches into the community, and they are actually going to assist him. They are adding a stage for performances, which is wonderful, and also adding turf grass so that there could be some flag football happening. They want to encourage our youth to play flag football in that area.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful, and people should note that apparently some colleges are starting to give scholarships to girls for flag football. Like, flag football is getting to be a big thing. I have a 14-year-old niece who played this season, and I'm like, okay, that's a thing now, but it's a big thing now. So the NFL is promoting it. So, yeah, get your kids involved in flag football. It might get them to college for free.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Well, I just took a note of that. I'm going to share that with that team. That's really good. Thank you.
Any additional discussion on this matter?
Can we get confirmation on the total cost again?
$20,391. Pastor Dexter provided vendor.
Okay. I know that it looks like Florist Church is coming up a couple of times on the agenda. I just wanted to confirm the dollar amount for this agreement.
Okay.
The only thing that I noticed is just that we just have to match the QC40 up with the contract. That's about it. So it's just more so a comment to just follow up on after we go through the approval.
And that is for what? And
It's just
that
making
is
sure
for.
that the QC40 is with the contract,
Okay.
with that dollar amount.
Any additional discussion? May I have roll call for approval, please?
I'm sorry.
Mr. President, before you go to vote, 1 second.
Yes, please.
I think that's an important factor that Mr. Allen just brought up.
I just want to make sure that we're not looking at a different contract.
How about for these with Florist Church, we approve them conditioned on the QC40 attached to the contract matching the dollar amount that's in the contract? Because I think it looks like what happened is the same QC40 form was attached to a few different contracts. Like mistakenly, this is a duplicate form that's attached to a few contracts, so that the dollar amount here doesn't match the dollar amount that's written into page 1 of the contract. So, so my suggestion is that we approve the ones with Florist Church contingent upon that, before the end of the day today, that the QC40 and the contract dollar amounts match. Does that make sense to everybody?
No, yeah. Well, it makes sense what you're saying, but the other two are correct. I'm looking at them.
Okay.
They have QC40s for the correct amount to cover theirs. It's that first one for the 20,000. that is not. So we can prove it a contingent upon the corrected QC40. I just want to make sure it's a really good point to not miss because it is one of the larger grants.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay.
So, do we need to amend the motion to approve the contingent on?
Well, we have a motion on the floor, so I'll have to withdraw my motion.
I second that he's withdrawing the motion. I don't know.
The new motion I'll approve is that a move to approve the Flourish Church contract contingent upon a completed and certified QC40.
Second.
And just to clarify, let's maybe get the address for this QC40 so we don't mix it up with the other two.
It's the same address.
The site of the project is the same exactly?
No.
That's what I meant. I don't know how to determine. I don't see a good description of it. Or maybe a description of the project, the scope of the project. This is the one with the,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
No,
So,
he's saying he had to change it from 15,000 to 20,000 because we had 3 that were 15,000 and we needed 1 that was 20,000.
So-
And
yeah.
I'm not sure how the QC for it is. On Thursday.
Yeah, so, the first one for Flores Church, the not to exceed number is $20,391. And as stated, as Tierra stated, is to reactivate North Gleason Park by removing brush and overgrown weeds, adding stage for entertainment, adding playground equipment. And then the next one is,
And that's the QC40, that's not correct, I'm sorry.
well, so that QC40 looks like it's a duplicate of or earlier version of the same one that's attached to the next contract. But so the fact that our vice president did the contingent motion means that we can straighten this out right after the meeting and not
Okay.
hold it up. So,
Okay, that's great.
okay.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Flores Church with the contingency that the QC40 be properly aligned with the scope of work.
Yes.
And for the record, it doesn't have an exact address, because I think that was your
Yes.
original point. But, per the contract for the scope of work, it's for, vegetation control around the North Gleason Park. With some added playground equipment.
So that being said, may we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas? President Suggs?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with Flores Church and the City of Gary has been approved contingent on the described QC40 requirements.
Mr. President, the next correspondence is for the Flourish Community Development Corporation, DBA Flourish Community Hub, with offices at 3935 Cleveland Street, Gary, Indiana, 46408. This contract is for $15,000, and this is for a project to be established at Community Garden in Washington Street subdivision neighborhood. Serves as both food growing space as well as community gathering spots. The project will include raised garden beds, fruits, vegetables, herbs, a stage for performances, community events, outdoor learning, and a gazebo, sponsored by the Gary Food Council, and serve as shade for the meeting hub and educational signage as program facing food celebration, sustainability, and volunteer-led gardening days and community efforts. At this time, I move to approve the contract for $15,000 for Flourish Community Development Corporation.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the City of Gary grant a Love Your Block agreement with Flourish Church and Development Corporation, DBA Flourish Community Hub, 3935 Cleveland Street, and the City of Gary, an amount not to exceed $15,000. May we have discussion on this matter, clarification?
Yes. This is a true collaboration. This is a collaboration between Love Your Block, the Gary Food Council, and Flourish Church. Also, we're working with Washington, the church that's on Washington there as well. We are working in partnership with the Gary Food Council to give them a nice social space. They were talking about those standards and how things should look, and that's kind of what we're doing there. And also, there's a community across the street. So we're trying to give that subdivision, which is the Washington Street subdivision, a community space that they can walk across the street to. That's a community of gardeners as well. So we're just trying to make that corner a place where the entire community can come and enjoy themselves. And plus, we have that Gary Food Council. That's another layer of support.
Any additional discussion on this matter? May we have roll call for approval, please?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, for roll call.
Yes, sir.
One additional, Kiana Grant, Ms. Grant, the fund for the 13,000, which fund, which department is that?
That should be coming from.
It's 4620. You signed off on the QC 40. It says from account 43940, department 4620. Is that your department?
That might be from seated.
That is. That's the seated fund.
Okay, yeah. We still on the same Flourish Community,
Mm-hmm.
2109 Adams?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, seated.
Any additional, Chief? Okay, yes, please proceed.
Member Allen,
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas. Yes. President Suggs.
Yes.
President vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the agreement with the City of Gary, Love Your Block agreement with Flourish Community Development Corporation doing business as Flourish Community Hub, 3935 Cleveland Street has been approved in the amount not to exceed $15,000.
Sorry. The final correspondence we have, no, I'm sorry. The next correspondence we have is for Flourish CDC. Also, still located at 3935 Cleveland Street. It is a contract. Is this one also for 15?
Yes.
$15,000.
Mm-hmm.
This is for restoring the playground at 35th and Jefferson.
South Gleason.
Yeah, I move to approve. So at this time, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to table this next floorage contract, the final one, until we get some additional conversation and clarification on the QC 40s.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, roll call for table, please.
Member Allen,
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas.
Yes.
President Suggs.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the contract with Flourish Community Development Corporation and the City of Gary has been tabled.
Mr. President, next correspondence we have is for Giovanni Clifton, contract for, located at 4556 Van Buren Street in Gary, Indiana, 46408. This contract is not to exceed $3,000, and this is for a project located for development of 2,000 square feet community garden on eligible city-owned property in the Glen Park neighborhood. I move to approve the contract for Giovanni Clifton not to exceed $3,000.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to approve the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Giovanni Clifton, 4556 Van Buren Street in Gary, Indiana. Any discussion on this matter? Maybe some clarification, please.
Sure. Javon Clifton is going to create a community garden in her neighborhood that's going to serve her neighbors. She is a novice gardener, actually, and she has partnered with some of our master gardeners who actually have won Love Your Block grants at these wonderful meetings that I'm conducting, and she's going to get the assistance that she needs and the support that she needs to beautify and bring a garden to her neighborhood where she feels there isn't anything like that near her.
Any additional discussion on this matter? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen,
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas.
Yes.
President Suggs.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with Giovanni Clifton and the City of Gary, 4556 Van Buren Street in Gary, has been approved.
Mr. President, the next correspondence we have is from L Hand Services LLC, with offices at 1214 East 35th Place in Gary, Indiana. This is not to exceed $6,000, and this is for services to be performed at 1501 East 35th Avenue. I'm sorry, East 35th Court. We could talk a little bit more about that project. I move to approve the contract for L Hand Services LLC.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the Love Your Block agreement with L Hand Services LLC, 1214 East 35th Place in the City of Gary. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion on this matter?
Yes. This project, at one of our meetings where we had a meeting in Glen Park at IUN, there was a young man who came in and he just wanted something for the other young people in his community to be able to have a park somewhere to sit. He's from, we called it 33rd and the East 33rd because that was the area that he initially wanted. It was kind of back off in the cut. And we redirected him to an area that would actually best serve his community, which is across the street from the Career Center and 21st Century that is there and North Shore. That young man had a vision, and then other people tabled their what they wanted to do to support him. So this is another collaborative effort, but like I said, there were projects that were tabled to support this young man because they believed in the youth. They believed in his idea. So I'm really excited about this one. I guess I'm just excited about all the projects. I keep saying that.
And you said this address specifically was across from?
It's actually across from North Shore. It's a, here we go. It is east of North Shore on the next corner there. So you know how there's the Career Center here, 21st Century. We have, is that North Shore? We have the doctor's office here, and then right across the street,
It's a
there's an
parking lot.
overgrown lot that doesn't have anything. But can you imagine waiting for your doctors, your doctor visit, and you have a bench and somewhere that you can sit, as well as our teenagers who are there waiting for the bus to take them back to school at the Career Center or in between classes for our 21st century kids.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion on this matter? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas? Yes. President Suggs?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Elhan Services LLC has been approved.
Mr. President, next correspondence we have is for Nancy Knightley, Love Your Block grant, not to exceed $5,000, with offices located at 1009 Vanderburg Street in Gary, Indiana, 46407. Again, not to exceed $5,000, and this project is, the scope of work is set to be at I just had it. The existing Mystical Farm Community Garden transforming into a safe and sustainable location. At this time, I move to approve the contract for Nancy Knightley.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been properly seconded to approve the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Nancy Knightley at 1009 Vandenberg Street in Gary, Indiana. Any discussion on this matter?
I would just love to know where Mystical Farms is.
It's on 24th and Buchanan. I've actually visited. Well, I've visited all the locations. This is actually a garden that has already been established, but we're talking about those standards and beautification and a garden being welcoming. So now we're going to take them from not just growing food, but also how to welcome people to the garden who don't necessarily garden. I love this location because they also have a beehive which produces Gary honey. It's caramel. It tastes like it's a little caramely. It's really delicious. And then they have master gardeners there as well. They forage. And they're just trying to really take their garden to the next level when it comes to being aesthetically pleasing and kind of setting the standard for what do we want our gardens to look like. They're also working with our program to include the neighborhood more, how to become more welcoming.
So can people go buy the honey now if they're interested?
That's a good question. I have to check with the bees. I'll let you know what's going on there. But it really is a beautiful. I could see how it can be elevated. The blueprint is there.
Very good.
For some reason, I'm not seeing the Buchanan in the location.
It is 2448 Buchanan Street.
I didn't see it in the contract, but that's because it's mystical.
Okay.
I'm being corny today.
I see. Any additional questions?
No, I think you bring up a great point, Mr. President. Before the contract is fully executed, can we have that address specifically put in the contract? These contracts also protect the city to ensure that the scope of work is done for that specific address.
Thank you. And I also want to make emphasis that this is an existing community garden that maybe did not shut down well, and they're looking at providing a template of how to do those things properly. So maybe we can utilize this as probably something to encourage others to be able to do with their community garden.
Absolutely. I'm thinking that this could be a model for how to invite people, how to make your garden beautiful and welcoming, also how to produce revenue.
Any additional? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen?
Yes.
Secretary Morgan?
Yes.
Vice President Dumas?
Yes.
President Suggs?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement has been approved with the City of Gary and Nancy Knightley at Vandenberg Street in Gary has been approved.
Mr. President, the next one is for Redevelopment Preventing Gentrification LLC with offices at 8750 Yardley Court, Unit 208, Indianapolis, Indiana. This is also a Love Your Block grant. This grant is not to exceed $3,206. And this is for beautification in the location of 2100 Harrison Street in Gary, Indiana. I move to approve the contract for RPG, also known as Redevelopment Preventing Gentrification LLC.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Redevelopment Preventing Gentrification LLC, 8750 Yardley Street, Unit 208, Indianapolis.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Maybe we can have some clarification on this one?
Yes, this is a team of young men who are so excited about beautifying the basketball court that is there at Roosevelt. They're from that area and they are young, they're in their 20s, and they always come to our meetings dressed and suited and ready to go. I enjoy them. They are also working on braiding funding and getting support from other sources to assist them with resurfacing and painting the basketball court and installing new backboards. They're also working with another Love Your Block team to bring beautification to that Roosevelt Park there.
Any additional discussion? Has there been any communication with some of the efforts from our park department and specifically Roosevelt? I know that there were some other projects that are doing similar work that have been approved for some of our jewel parks. And so I'm just wondering, there may be some overlap with this particular project.
Well, actually, I do have a meeting on the books with Matty, and I'm thinking that maybe we can work in partnership if there is something already there, because I'm unfortunately I'm not aware of that.
I certainly would encourage that. And not to say that these monies can't enhance the type of work that's going to be done at the park, but certainly just don't want there
Collaboration.
to be something that is non-collaborative. Yes.
Absolutely, I say it's my favorite thing. We are greater together. If you want to go far, go alone. But I mean, I'm sorry. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So that collaboration would actually be wonderful. I think we can get a lot done because we have the people who are interested in doing something.
Now, the only other thing that these gentlemen have an Indianapolis location, and I thought this was restricted to Gary.
That is where their business office is located. They live here, but their business office, because they applied for this under their business, which is the Redevelopment Preventing Gentrification, but they are Gary residents. And that is also it. We also said, if you love this area, because you did not have to be from Black Oak, Midtown, or Glen Park in order to have a project here. You just had to have a sustainability plan and cared about it enough to want to do something.
And the work is being done in Gary.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece is that I know from our lovely engineer giving us recent quotes. $3,000 probably won't resurface anything but a corner. But,
Good thing this is just repainted.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was my concern. If some other group spends $100,000 on resurfacing a basketball court, I'm not sure how inviting someone to spend $3,000 of paint on top of it. But maybe they can paint the benches on the side or something.
And that's collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would just ask before they proceed that you have that meeting because I believe Parks is proceeding
Yes.
with some pieces of that scope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we vote? please vote. Yes, thank you.
Member Allen.
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas.
Yes.
President Suggs.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and Redevelopment Preventing Gentrification LLC has been approved.
Mr. President, next correspondence, I move to table the correspondence. Nothing wrong with the scope or the attached QC40. However, there's one additional step that has to be handled with the legal department before this one can go forth. So unfortunately, we can't do it without that document present.
And this was the
Terry Martin.
Terry Martin, okay. All right, table. Well, let's vote to table.
Second the motion to table.
Then we have roll call to approve table.
Member Allen.
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas.
Yes.
President Suggs.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
Thank you.
Final correspondence for the Love Your Block grants, Mr. President, from the Mercy Network. The Mercy Network is located at 1472 Cleveland Street in Gary, Indiana. This grant is a not to exceed amount of $1,500. And it is for the attached scope of work in regards to 303 East 51st in Glen Park to address blight and beautifying the park. At this time, I move to approve the contract for the Mercy Network.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to approve the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and the Mercy Network, Inc., 1472 Cleveland Street. Any discussion on this matter?
And this project is actually taking place at Pittman Square, the park. I'm going to speak with Matt T, the Parks Department, to work in collaboration with what can be done here. They just want to repaint benches, the trash cans, plant flowers, make the park more welcoming. They have a partnership with the beautiful firehouse that's there, that's been repainted, and they are actually working together with that fire department for the sustainability piece.
Any additional questions? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen.
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas.
Yes.
President Suggs.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the Love Your Block agreement with the City of Gary and the Mercy Network, Inc. has been approved. I see that ends our section 3 on our agenda. Now we have a section number 4, unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to go before this board?
No, sir.
Section 5, any new business to go before this board?
Yes, it's correspondence from the law department. It's a resolution approving a settlement case. I'll just read from it. Whereas the City of Gary and Officer John, I think it's pronounced Artabe Jr., were sued in cause number 45 DO4 2101 CT 68 by Rufus Joseph. The litigation stemmed from an accident involving a police officer and Mr. Joseph. Judgment has been entered against the city in the amount of $58,750.50 for this 2019 auto accident. The city agrees to pay the judgment and in the amount of the $58,750.50. So this resolution is to approve payment of that judgment amount.
Second.
Been moved and properly second to approve the resolution for the City of Gary and Officer John Artabe. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, may we have roll call for approval, please?
Member Allen.
Yes.
Secretary Morgan.
Yes.
Vice President Dumas.
Yes.
President Suggs.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, it has been approved with the City of Gary, Officer John Artabe Jr. in a cause case in regards to Rufus Joseph for the amount of $58,750.50. I show that we're section 6 on our agenda, public comment. Trent, is there anyone in queue for public comment?
No.
I see on the agenda here that there's a list that has no names. Is there anyone in the room that would like to make a comment before the board? Hearing none, seeing none, I will entertain.
Actually, can I understand that it's gonna be hot later in the week, and so I think it's a good opportunity to remind folks of our warming and cooling shelter. I don't know if Vice President Dumas can give those addresses. Oh, okay, give us a second. And again, members of the public, but especially our seniors, are encouraged to use our cooling shelter if you don't have adequate air conditioning in your house or another way to cool off as the temperatures go up. And we'll give you those addresses in a second.
Thank you.
All right, the first one is located at 4101 Washington Street in Gary, Indiana. That will be open the moment the temperature gets, I believe, above 85 degrees. So that will be this week. The second one, the Calumet Township Trustees Office also offers their center as well, and it's located at 1900 West 41st Avenue in Gary, Indiana, 46408. And that one as well is open during the day. And our Warming and Cooling Center is open, of course, toward the evening if it continues to be hot.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
I'd like to thank the board members for the public service information. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Been moved and properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.